Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to our today's podcast show, Tuesday Bits, where we may talk about some trendy issues, isn't it?
Exactly, no. We wanted to talk about Noam Chomsky for a long time, actually, and a recent interview made it a trendy issue, which was kind of shameful for us as we are studying his theory. So it's both a yes and a no.
Okay, we should introduce ourselves first that we missed in our last podcast, right? Anyways,
Yeah.
if you didn't hear our last podcast show till now, have a look at our YouTube channel, Amigas Pod, and it is also available on Midstep.
This is Tastim Jahan Sadia.
And this is Bushra Morshid.
And yes, today we two amigas came here with the most interesting topic that is Noam Chomsky and his propaganda model.
Yeah, it is a little bit awkward for us now to talk about Noam Chomsky after the recent issues. That is really inappreciable, actually.
That's true, Bushra.
Anyways, I just give a brief introduction on Abraham Noam Chomsky because he has huge contribution in several fields such as linguistic theories, as he is known as the father of modern linguistics. Even he is an American linguistic, philosopher, cognitive scientist, historian, social critic, and political activist as well. He has led through involvement in political causes and an identification with an older philosophic tradition to no less than an attempt to formulate an overall theory of a man. These are actually all are connected with linguistic theory. And if we talk about the second major area of which Professor Chomsky has contributed, and surely the best known is terms of the number of people in his audience, what he writes and says on his work on socio-political analysis actually and political, social and economic history. Anyways, I thought I talked a little more about him, and it is becomes boring just continuing one particular statement.
No, that's okay. Today's discussion is all about this. But before we go into our main discussion, which is about propaganda model, there are some basic things to know, right?
Yeah,
We
sure.
yeah, we all know that what manipulation means. When someone is forcing you to do something. Like I think manipulation has two more forms, which are known as convincing someone and the other one is hegemony. So,
Okay.
convincing means I am trying to get something done by someone, trying to talk to
Mhm.
them into it, and they know that they are being convinced by me. But hegemony is beyond manipulation and convincing. For example, I want my friend to like Western music instead of
Mhm.
Bangla music. But I am not asking her to stop listening to Bangla music. Instead, I am continuously telling her how good Western music is and how relaxed it makes you feel. At some
Oh,
point, she might start listening to Western music and find it really cool and fun. She
that's
stops
great.
listening to Bangla music at some point. I did not force her or convince her. What I did was tell her only how good Western music is. I didn't even say that Bangla music is bad, but now I tricked her somehow into thinking that Western music is better than Bangla music. This is actually the whole process of manufacturing consent without forcing or convincing, and this is what hegemony is all about.
That's great. Actually, now it is the time to disclose that why we talk that much on manufacturing consent.
Yeah.
Sir Chomsky is interconnected about this term with manufacturing consent.
Yeah.
I'm looking back around 30 years ago, Noam Chomsky and Edward Harman published their book Manufacturing Consent, The Political Economy of Mass Media in 1988. Yeah, that's it, 1988. Even the World Wide Web had not yet been invented, and internet use was neither common nor widespread. So genuinely, they had to focus on none other things but mass media only. So Here
Yes.
is Chomsky and Harmony try to point out that our concepts are manufactured and that are not real or appreciated. Okay, Tasnim, what do you think about manufactured media?
Okay, so I think this is the uh, whole discussion of our today's podcast, right? Like, media is the way through which we get all our information. But what if it is said to us that this media is not giving us the real or actual information? This media is
That's the
being
point.
manufactured. Yes, this is the reality. Media gets through several filters before coming out to the public. And these filters strain out the original gist of the news or wipes out the real impact it could have made. So what about you? What do you think about manufactured media?
Actually, today notions of propaganda are not widely shared and tend to sound strange to our ears. Also, the notion of the mass media has been replaced by speaking of the media in general, which is due to the fact that digital media, such as the internet, have integrated interpersonal communication, group communication, organizational communication, and so on. Whatever you can say is everything is the level of society in one communication technology. In this contemporary age of digital and social media, it is time to revisit and reassess Harman and Chomsky's propaganda model, in my opinion, because media are manufactured their news and whatever they're giving our these informations.
Okay. It's been a while we used the word propaganda model, right? Like we've been
Yeah,
using it.
yeah, exactly.
We didn't explain it what it means actually. So if we talk about the word propaganda,
Mm-hmm.
propaganda means publishing or spreading fake, biased, misleading, not so authentic news. So if we see a news is real and the sources are raw or authentic or just happened and many people witnessed it, then it's just a news. But a news which goes through several filters and comes out to the public as something well dressed and prepared, furnished and polished, then it is a propaganda. Am I right, Bushra?
Yes, even I can say in the same way that the propaganda model is the representation of a system made of the composition of any particular constants that most of
Yes.
the time making an information fake, and that can be also said conceptual model as so far. And again, in Chomsky's view, the truth about political realities is systematically distorted or suppressed by an elite corporates and which uses corporate media advertising and thing to promote its own propaganda exactly. That's exactly
Yes.
the propaganda model as well.
Yep. So we learned about propaganda model, what it is, and but there are some more things. Like there are five filters, which Noam
Yes,
Chomsky and
how the
Edward Herman, yes, mentioned, and how they determine the type and representation of a news. Because before the news reaches the audience, it goes through five filters and is processed. So, ownership of the medium, funding sources, sourcing, flag, and ideology, fear, or anti communism are these five filters. We need to know about these five filters to understand the propaganda model that Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman advanced to explain how propaganda and systemic bias functions in corporation mass media.
Okay, as Tasnim said before, that the first is the matter of ownership. So the question is how ownership works in media exactly, right?
Yep.
Actually, companies in the mass media are large corporations. They are frequently part of even larger combinations, and profit is their ultimate goal, actually. As a result, it's in their best interest to advocate for whatever ensure a profit. Naturally, critical journalism must take a backseat of the corporation's requirements and interests. So, for as an example, when an industrial corporation produces a newspaper, they would definitely hide any negative issues about their company and Here, ownership influences the news or medias, whatever we can say actually.
After ownership comes the funding sources. So, when looked at the production cost of a newspaper company,
Mm-hmm.
it can be seen that their income is less than their production cost, but they are still publishing because of the advertisement. Okay, so
Okay.
to be more clear and precise, when the news company is publishing the papers regularly and distributing them among people, they are reaching a good number of audience, which increases day by day, and the companies are getting good advertisement, which helps in the growth of their TRP. But
Actually,
then
that is
comes,
their target group, right? That's their target
yes,
group.
yes. But then comes the question of loss, right? Like, even though they are facing loss, why are they still publishing? How do they fill
Mm-hmm.
in the blanks? Okay, so here comes the answer. The companies or industrial corporation with the funding sources to the news companies fill up the blanks in exchange of their advertisements. So now we must realize that funding source is very important for a news company, because if we compare the costs and earnings of these companies, we will see that they cannot maintain both and need another sponsor. So, to understand this advertisement a bit better, here's an example. A famous player in a recent interview removed two bottles of drinks and replaced them with water, which caused a huge impact in the advertisement business. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about it.
Actually, yes. Actually, when we are talk about these five filters, whatever we are seeing in our media or in our social media, mass media,
Mhm.
we can connect and relate with these advertisements or whatever
Yes.
happening.
Yep. Once we know, it's easy to connect them.
Yeah. And after the advertising, the third filter is used by the establishment to manage the media, or you can say sourcing mass media news, because the system rewards complicity. Journalism cannot
And
be a check on power exactly.
okay.
Governments, companies, and large institutions are all adept at manipulating the media. Actually, even though in a movie is named Bajrangi Bhaijaan, Nawazuddin Selim's character showed a small village reporter who cannot get attention from the real media industry.
So, Bushra, as you mentioned, Nawazuddin Salim's reporter character in the movie, um, I think our next filter quite matches with this. Like, I mean, these are connected. Anyone will be punished, anyone will be pushed to the margins if he seeks to question power, right? When journalists, whistleblowers, and sources deviate from the union, they are labeled as flack, which is the fourth filter. So, when the news is inconvenient for the powers that be, the flak machine will be in full swing, discrediting sources, trashing reports, and diverting attention away from the story, right? So, the negative reactions to a media announcement or show are referred to as flak. Flak letters, telegrams, phone calls, petitions, lawsuits, speeches and bills before Congress, and other forms of complaint, threat, and punitive actions are all examples. It can be coordinated centrally or locally, or it can be made up of completely autonomous individual actions. When flak is generated on a wide scale or by individuals or groups with significant resources, it may be both unsettling and expensive for the media. Positions must be defended both within and beyond the organization, sometimes in front of lawmakers and potentially in court. In its news management efforts, the makers of flag bolster each other's strength and reinforce the command of political authority. The government is a major source of criticism, continually attacking, threatening, and correcting the media in an attempt to keep the deviations from the official narrative to a minimum. The very nature of news management is to attract criticism. Here, I want to include a movie called Aina Baji, where the journalist, the character of Partha Borua, showed that he is not given any priority. Though his news or report, whatever we can say, is real and has proofs that happens in our real media terms. But it is also about flag, so that we cannot get that.
The word flag is interesting, right? Yeah, the flag seems stuck.
Yeah, flag.
Okay, our last filter is anti-communist. Anti-communist, or you can say ideology fear, where ideology serves as the last filter. To create consent, the media need an adversary that is a target. Actually, it creates a common enemy: terrorists, immigrants, communism, and the creation of shared enemy, boogeyman to pretend aids in the control of public opinion. Actually, as we come at the end of the podcast, so I personally want to hear from Tasnim. If you give your idea of mass media or social media or whatever we say in our media world.
Okay, so after discussing this propaganda model of Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman, it is easier to understand why they developed this model, why they want the world to know how the media industries work, or how the news we are seeing is coming to us, right? So, we both are clear about one fact, that is, media delivering us fake and filter news is not certainly bringing us any good, right? Media is basically deceiving us in order to protect their company and hiding the reality. So, what do you think about this?
Actually, we should focus on aspects of the model and relate them to the realm of the internet, ownership, profit, advertising, powerful information sources, flag, and anti-communism. The propaganda model reminds us of the importance of thinking critically about dominant political, economy, and ideologies when we analyze the internet today. Given the power of companies such as Google or Facebook, we must consider the role of new monopolies, digital labor, targeted advertising, attention, and visibility, and online ideologies when critically analyze digital capitalisms as well. So, general people should be more careful about what we are taking and why we are taking those. In my opinion, that's it. We should careful about the news, the thoughts, and whatever we can say.
So, I think this is it for today, right?
Yes, we are at very end of our show.
Uh, Before knowing all these things, I mean, who would have thought that the news we see on social media or on newspapers are filtered and we are not seeing the real thing, right? Who would have thought that? So I think it's after people listen to this, or those who know about this, they should definitely be careful before trusting any news blindly, and find out the sources, like where this is coming from, where that company is coming from, and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
We hope to come back on another Tuesday with another topic to discuss with you all. Feel free to share your opinions on our today's discussion. Thank you. Be safe and take care. Allah Hafiz.